Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Ask the Accountant. It is 8:30 on a Monday morning. So where else are you going to be other than around your screens watching us? My name's Johann, and this is episode 156 of Ask the Accountant. We are ticking those numbers off gradually, but my co-host is swanning around in Las Vegas somewhere on a work trip.
It's a hard life.
It's a hard life. So I hunted far and wide. I ended up nearly in France before I found someone to bring in on as a co-host today. But I have found Tim from TCS. Tim, how are you? And how is Guernsey on this fine morning?
It's actually sunny now. When I got into the office this morning to make sure that I was ready, which I did far too early because my sleep pattern's all messed up from the clocks changing like it is every year. It was absolutely tipping it down with rain. I got soaking wet. As you can see, I've had to do my hair nicely just to make sure I didn't look like a drowned rat. But apart from that, look, it's glorious. Winter's definitely settling in. There's a chill in the air, but it's bright and sunny, sort of. And probably not as windy as Cambridge here, where Kirsty's apparently experiencing force 10s.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's blue skies and bright here after a wet, horrible weekend, so that's always good in Edinburgh. We will go through the comments quickly and say hello to the community. The comments might come up and down a bit randomly, with Aaron being away and me not being trusted with anything of responsibility other than talking, and even that could end up in lawsuits. So Lizzie is behind the scenes putting up the comments for us. So we will go through these now. As per usual, at 8:30 on the dot, Cheryl signed in and said, "Good morning. Definitely chilly now." Yeah, definitely is. Cheryl, I don't know. Can you schedule a comment on a video to go live at a precise moment? Because Cheryl always gets it bang on. Kirsty says, "Good morning from sunny and windy Cambridgeshire." Paul Ingram says, "Good morning." Good morning, Paul. Peter from AIMGB Accountant says, "Good morning." Stephanie says, "Good morning." I'm sure Stephanie is happy with the F1 result yesterday. Juliet says, "Good morning" as well. Good morning for bank holiday weekend in Ireland from Clive. There we go. Clive's enjoying a bank holiday weekend in Ireland.
Well, that's exactly what you need is a bank holiday somewhere between August and Christmas, right?
Yeah.
We're all missing out by not. I think that's perfect. Just have that little end of October bank holiday.
That is a long stretch, isn't it, between August and Christmas? Otherwise, yeah, I like that. Let's do the Irish way. Let's have a bank holiday halfway through. Dave says, "Good morning, everyone from sunny London. Hope everyone had a great weekend." Thank you, Dave. Paul Whitehouse says, "Morning all." Morning, Paul. Says, "Hi, Tim," as well. Who else have we got? Suzanne says, "Good morning." I'm going to skip Kirsty's next comment because she's giving away the game again. We'll come back to that in a moment. Ashley says, "Good morning, guys, and welcome, Tim." Stephanie says, "What a race. Very happy with that," which is great. Emily is here saying, "Morning" from the rest of the TCS team. Our first option when we thought, who do we get on? We was like, let's get Emily. Then we felt a bit awkward asking Tim if Emily could come on in.
Then you realize that you're pronouncing her name all wrong.
Sorry, yes. Paul says, "Sunny in Pompey, but definitely time to break out the jumpers and box up the t-shirts." Definitely is. Cheryl says that there was a challenge this morning. Apparently my watch is 3 seconds slow. Aaron hasn't arranged his Vegas very well. The Grand Prix is next weekend. Yeah, so he's not there for the Grand Prix. He's back just in time to watch that at home, unfortunately for him. And then, yeah, so Natasha says morning both. Marcus is here saying good morning. And Nick Moss is here saying morning as well. Wonderful. Right, let's get into it because we have got a lot to go through this week. Some very interesting topics. I mean, of all weeks for Aaron to be skiving, this is not it.
I know. Do you know what? I keep seeing all these YouTube videos. They're very clickbaity, but I keep seeing all these YouTube videos about how Vegas is only for rich people now. So is there something we don't know about Aaron? Like, has he suddenly come into some like unexpected wealth, and that's why he's really in Vegas? He's trying to lose it all again.
Not that he shared with me.
One of us.
Yeah. So before Kirsty gives the game away anymore, Tim, talk to us about a new podcast that landed last week. The pilot episode went live. This is your idea. This is your baby. Which has joined the Ask the Accountant network. So yeah, talk us through it. What happened last week?
So obviously you've all watched it, so I don't actually need to tell you much about it, I assume. But if you haven't, you should. The idea behind the Sage Savvy podcast was that, and this was, we originally discussed this. Actually, me, you, and Aaron discussed it together at Accountex Manchester last year. But unfortunately, we're also incredibly busy. It took us that long to actually finalize what it was going to be and film a pilot episode for it. But I think the main point of a sort of Sage podcast, it's not to advertise Sage. We're not sponsored by Sage currently. Hint, hint. Come on, sure. We're not sponsored by anyone, especially not Sage. It's because we use Sage day to day at TCS. It's our main FMS that we use. We do have some clients on Xero and QuickBooks as well, but I am bored to tears of people's misconception of what Sage is, right? Because there is still a huge portion of the industry who when they hear the word Sage, what they're thinking of is Sage Line 50 on desktop, on Windows, server-based, not cloud-based, can't access it from... like the adverts are always like, oh, you can run your business from the beach. Well, I don't think any of us really have done that very often, but, at least you've got the option. And then there's a few who were around for Sage's first foray into cloud-based accounting, which was called Sage 1, which was admittedly not very good. I don't think anyone from Sage would say it was good, but there's two things that irritate me. Okay, number one is that misconception, because modern Sage Business Cloud Accounting, it's just as good an option as Xero or QuickBooks for a lot of our clients. The reason we have some on Xero and some on QuickBooks is because they have very specific requirements, and that system's the best for them. And that's going to apply to a lot of people. There's a lot of practices out there who just say, no, we are a Xero only practice. And sometimes that leads to people shoehorning clients onto a system that just isn't the right one for them. But the second sort of that's the main thing, to be honest. It's this misconception of what Sage is, and it's making sure that you're able to make a decent informed decision. Because look, we had last week the thing about you guys discussed it last week, the thing about Monzo, and the sort of deep integration with Sage to the point where if you're MTD, you're going to be able to do all that from within your Monzo business account. Monzo is a really popular bank, and a lot of people are using that. And if you don't even at least just know about Sage, right? Are you potentially excluding yourself from working with some of those clients that might be really good clients just because they also happen to have a couple of rental properties and therefore they're going to come into MTD? It's just a sort of a widening of people's knowledge about it, really. And if you know what it does and you still don't want to use it and you still love Xero and you're still never going to put anyone on Sage, great. But at least now you're well informed.
Yeah, at least now you've made an up-to-date educated decision based on the facts as they are today. Like I said it a few weeks ago after Accountex Manchester, like I need to change the culture in my organization because the amount of things I see now from Sage, I go, that's cool. Like Sage is agent AI for MTD. Like genius, absolutely genius. but I've got to change my team. Like I'm kind of getting brought into this, but if I turn around to my team and said, "Oh, we're going to bring in Sage and have that as an option," I'd probably have a mass walkout. Like, but it's because they've all got this same outlook on Sage that it's,
Yeah.
and they're thinking Sage 50, Sage 1, and that's it.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I think
do that. No, not at the moment. Will it happen eventually? Hopefully. Like, we've got our Zero champions, we've got our QuickBooks champions, we've got our free agent champions. All it takes is the recruitment of someone that loves Sage to work alongside them, and all of a sudden that becomes quite infectious.
Yeah. Or even a client that comes, that already uses Sage, or that their previous accountant had them on Sage, and even if you're intending that you're gonna migrate them at some point, maybe delay that migration by a couple of months and get to know it and see how it works, because really, if when we're being sensible, we do system migrations at the end of the end of the VAT quarter or something, right? You don't just go, it's the 12th of March, I'm going to do it now. So maybe keep someone on Sage for a whole entire quarter and then if you hate it, you hate it, right? Cool, crack on, move them to Zero, QuickBooks, free agent, whatever else you want. But I think that it's about just making that informed decision, because Sage are very supportive. They're very easy to get hold of. If you've got an issue as a partner, you can just phone them, which is not the case with a lot of the competitors. And I think the other thing to note, that I think this is the less important point for me, but it is an important point, and the other reason why I wanted to sort of give this podcast a go, is you don't actually have to be cloud-based, right? Controversial opinion maybe, but we've all spent the last 10 years telling people that if they're still using server-based software, they're idiots, they're stuck behind, we're posting Jurassic Park logos all over their LinkedIns. There are many companies and many accountancy practices who are still using, with some or all of their clients, desktop or server-based software, and it's working fine. Okay, so it's about not defaulting. There's someone that I know, they're not a client, but they won't mind me telling a bit of their story. They're a local business in Guernsey, they're a wholesaler, and they were effectively bullied by their accountants to move from Sage 200, which they've been using for 15 years, to Zero. And it was a disaster because the system wasn't right for them. And they're now moving back to Sage 200, right? Just because something is a bit old fashioned doesn't mean that it doesn't work and that it isn't good. All you have to do is make sure that you mitigate the cons, right? So one of the main cons, one of the reasons we all loved switching to cloud-based software was, we don't have to worry about the server in the corner going on fire anymore, right? Yeah. Most of us that are older than about 30 have at some point had to do a backup onto a tape or a zip disk or an external server or something, and it's a nuisance. And if you forget to do it and you have a problem, suddenly all your records are 17 days out of date and you've got to do a rebuild, right? I had to do a rebuild once on 11 months worth of bookkeeping data, and I considered jumping out the window on multiple occasions because it was awful. But you can mitigate that, right? So that was the other sort of impetus for that, was just to maybe kind of try and weaken slightly that opinion of, if not cloud-based equals bad.
Yeah, exactly. Like I've always preached about cloud-based, right? But I've also got a Ugreen NAS sat next to me chugging away. Like, it stores all of our company files. Yes, they are in the OneDrive as well, and SharePoint, whatever you want to call it, but they're in there as well as a backup. All my photos on my phone and tablet and everything, they automatically back up to this NAS. It makes sense to have it. Now, there is a downside to being server-based. Very few APIs are able to pull the data from it. Yeah. So, if you look at the TaxCalc Engager integration that we'll talk about later on, but if you're not using Cloud Connect with TaxCalc, Engager can't see your data.
Yeah.
So you've got to weigh up the pros and cons, like you say, of what you can and can't do with a server and whether it's going to be right for your business or not. But yeah,
I think it's probably fair to say that the majority of accountancy and bookkeeping practices, that previous statement probably doesn't apply to. I think that we all do pretty much need to be mostly cloud-based because of the tools that we're all using and how, you know, we can save so much time by them all being connected together. When you look at your actual clients, you know, like if you pick up a manufacturing client who's using Sage 200, the fact that that doesn't connect to Engager is kind of irrelevant because it's your client system, not, you know, it's that kind of thing. It's about the right use case, right? And I'm never going to say like, oh, everyone should actually be server based. I'm not. I've got a friend who is deep into declouding, and they're declouding as much as they possibly can. I'm never going down that road. But what I'm saying is that just because something has been around for a long time doesn't mean that it doesn't work. And this, I'm going to squeeze this in because it annoyed me. This speaks to bank recs as well.
Yep.
Right. So most of you probably saw a conversation on LinkedIn last week where somebody started going on about how if you're still doing bank recs and getting your pen and paper out and it's 1995, you're a dinosaur and you need to catch up and you need to be on zero, where you don't have to do that. Well, in both Sage and QuickBooks, and I'm sure in Free Agent, etc. as well, if you want to just rely on the bank feed and just do the bank matching and then say, oh yeah, that's fine, it's all done, you can. Right, you can absolutely stop there. No one's making you print anything. No one's making you get your red pen out and your ruler. But if you want to take that extra step and do an actual reconciliation, lock that account down so that a change can't throw the balance off, you have the option to do so. And we do that for all of our bank recs. Some people do, some people don't. And some people would like to reconcile more accounts. We deal with a lot of cash accounts, for example, that often there's no sensible way to reconcile them in a way that can't be changed later. And that is a prime example of, you know, just because something is new and different and a little bit easier doesn't necessarily mean that it's better.
Yeah, definitely. Couldn't agree more. It's doing what works for you and your clients.
Exactly.
And if you've got a client that likes to add the occasional transaction manually to the bank feed, then yeah, you're going to need to do a bank rec.
Yeah.
Or you've got like I've got clients who still use like NatWest's Timeline or something, like really old Bankline, really unreliable bank feeds, really like hours of transactions missing, days of transactions missing at times. Like it's just old technology.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got, because here some of our banks don't provide bank feeds, we've got a fair chunk of clients who we have to manually upload their CSVs from the bank. Okay. And, you know, what if you've accidentally imported a day that you've already imported? Okay. You know, what if, you know, I'm fairly sure none of us have ever done this in TCS, but what if you accidentally import all the transactions the wrong way around?
Yeah.
Right.
I always think you're better off to have the tool in your toolbox and not use it than to need it and not have the tool in your toolbox.
Exactly.
So yeah, cool. Okay, so yeah, so that's Sage Savvy, the latest podcast to join the Ask the Accountant network. We're very excited to hopefully get some more episodes of that recorded and go from there. That would be fantastic. But if you've not watched it yet, give it a watch. Give us some feedback because yeah, if the viewing numbers aren't there, we're like the BBC. We will have to cut it, and we don't want Tim cut off really.
No, due to the unique way that Ask the Accountant is funded by you, the viewers, just go and watch it. And honestly, like, you know, I'm quite thick-skinned. Like, if you think it's terrible, just let me know that you think it's terrible, and I'll be interested to hear why. But I'm fairly confident that not many of you are going to think it's terrible.
I fell asleep listening to it, but I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing because I can fall asleep listening to most things these days. But yeah,
you're just getting old. That's all it is.
That's it. Yeah, it's just old age now. The moment you sit on the sofa, it's like gone, done. Right, moving on to other news in the industry. This is a big one. We almost jumped on and did a live reaction podcast last week. If it wasn't for the fact that I was down in London, Aaron was somewhere else, it just wasn't going to work. But it was the government and Her Majesty's Treasury finally announced the outcome of their consultation, which has been ongoing for quite some time. 2023, I think this one started. And that is the FCA, the Finance Conduct Authority, will be taking over all AML supervision across all industries. So there'll be one AML supervising body covering all industries. Now, accountants and bookkeepers are already going, oh my God, how can they cope with just so many people? And they're not even contemplating the fact that this is every solicitor and lawyer in the UK as well. This is every gambling organisation and business in the UK as well. This is absolutely monumental to put onto one organisation, rightly or wrongly. I mean, in theory, technology should be able to help them with this, but we'll see. These kind of organisations aren't renowned for being technically savvy. So yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal. So interestingly, Cheryl's just put in there an extra 60,000 entities. It's more than that, Cheryl, because I know last time I looked, there was over 76,000 entities registered with HMRC alone.
Yeah.
So there's 40,000 accountants and bookkeepers as limited companies in the UK. Add on to that all your sole traders. Add on to that all of your lawyers, all of your solicitors, all of your
estate agents,
estate conveyancing solicitors who do all your buying and selling of houses. Like, I think you could double, if not triple, that number.
Like credit card machine providers, right? Yep. Anyone that deals with any sort of e-money at all. Anyone that currently has to do even the most basic AML checks. It's huge. It's hundreds of thousands, really. It's not an extra 60,000. It's probably an extra maybe 250,000 or more. I think, I don't know. I reserve judgment on this. I think that we're not going to find out how it goes until for probably another 5+ years.
I completely agree. I think I'm not going to judge whether the FCA can do this properly or not until we're at a point where we can actually see what they come up with, because they might use technology. They might blow us away. They might be incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah,
let's be honest, they probably won't.
No, but we'll give them a chance, right? We'll give them the chance to blow us away. I think what's more interesting is going to be the question of the relevance of governing bodies going forwards.
Yeah.
So the last 5 years, they very much coasted on, well, we can't possibly help you with anything else. We're too busy doing AML supervision and having the AML authorities chase us for not doing a good enough job.
Yeah.
So if that's not an excuse anymore, are they going to actually step up and do a good job as a governing body? Are they going to train, support, help you evolve your business, etc., in a way that they've not done for a long time now? Some governing bodies are far better than others, don't get me wrong. I think it's interesting that the ICAEW have announced a restructuring of their business in the same week.
Yeah.
Now,
coincidence.
They're saying this was planned already. We're already consulting about this, but it was probably pivotal announcement from the FCA taking over. So, how are the governing bodies going to change and adapt to this? How are they going to demonstrate relevance and value? And for those that are with governing bodies, like the ICAEW have already said, you're just going to get even more checks, because we're going to still be doing AML checks, even though they're not legally enforceable. We can't punish you for it legally. We're still going to be doing AML checks as part of your compliance work with compliance checks with the governing body. Who knows?
I think it's very telling, the different responses from the different governing bodies, though, right? Because look at just two of them. Look at ICAEW and ICB. Okay, ICB said, it wasn't necessarily, oh my God, we think this is amazing, but it was relatively positive. Hey, whatever happens, we're still going to be here to support our members. And let's see how that pans out. the ICB already, I think, is relatively decent on non-AML things, right? That's certainly, you know, we didn't originally join for AML supervision. Everyone's always got room for improvement, of course, but I think they're relatively decent on that, and their response to the announcement kind of bore that out. You know, we're still here, we're not going anywhere, you know, we're still supporting our members. ICAEW, on the other hand, oh my God, this is terrible, everything's awful. And I saw a response from, it was one of the governing bodies for solicitors in the UK, and you know, their instant response was, this is a disgrace, we are going to fight this, we're going to take them to court, we're going to get this overturned. And it's like that's very telling for me, because if the only thing that you're doing is AML supervision, why do you even exist, right? What is the point of a governing body if it doesn't at least have some support services that you can access, right? I can only really talk to ICB because I know about the services they offer. I'm not a member of another governing body. I never have been, right? But I know that if I've got a technical query that I just can't answer, and I can call them, right? That's one of the services that's provided as part of the membership fee. And without the membership, I'm not getting the AML cover, right? I'm sure there are many members who have just joined for the AML cover, but that's not really the point of being a member of the ICB. Whereas it seems that being a member of the ICAW, it seems that you just pay them a lot of money every year for them to come round and potentially hand you a large fine for not being AML compliant. And that seems a bit daft to me. Now, the GFSC in Guernsey, so we're in the relatively unique position that we're actually AML supervised by two completely separate bodies. So we're regulated by the GFSC. We're a prescribed business. I'm not going to comment on whether I think the GFSC do a good job or a bad job, because there's a lot of opinions around in Guernsey about that, and I don't necessarily agree with most of them. But I would say that the amount of money I have to pay them on an annual basis doesn't seem over the top for the level of service that they provide. The difference is that's Guernsey, right? And you know, they're our equivalent of the FCA. How many entities are they supervising? Well, actually, you can look on their website and see how many. It's a handful, it's a few hundred, right? If I hear from the GFSC, I probably hear from one of about 3 people. I already know who they are. If I had a question for them, I can call them up. They're going to, you know, I'm going to speak to the same person again and again and again. You're not going to have that with the FCA supervising 250,000 entities. It's just going to be another massive HMRC-like organization where you're potentially going to end up with, they'll probably tell you that you have to wait 17 days for a reply due to COVID or something, which seems to be the excuse that most people are still using 5 years later. And I don't, like I said, I reserve judgment, but my initial thoughts is I don't see it being wildly successful. I think that the point of the governing bodies doing the AML supervision is not so that they can extract money from people and continue to exist. It's because that responsibility then is being delegated, right? It's they're dealing with their members who they know and who they can supervise more closely than the FCA ever could. Is it going to lead to lower quality supervision? Are we actually going to see an increase in money laundering? Who knows?
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's going to be interesting as well to see what they do with technology. Like, do they finally do what I've been telling governing bodies for years? I'm going, stop wasting your money building your own subpar, not even minimal viable product. It's just crap for AML checks and storing risk assessments and stuff. And just go, right, here's our approved list. Like,
yeah,
HMRC MTD it have a recognized list of people that have those softwares have undergone some checks to make sure that they are compliant with what HMRC requires. So will that mean the likes of Zama, FirmCheck, TaxCalc AML Center, etc., will they be able to get recognized by the FCA? And if you use that, then actually that's in your favor. That maybe tips the ratio to having less inspections than more, versus someone doing it manually and not using a prescribed tool.
Because in theory, if the FCA develops some sort of relationship whereby they can approve and accredit certain providers, then in theory, can't you then just give them secure access to your client list on Zama, for example, so that they can dip in using some sort of AI, probably dip in whenever they want and see, okay, actually, you know, Johann appears to have taken on 19 new clients in the last 3 months, and the percentage that still haven't done their AML checks is 6. Dear Johann, what's going on with these 6 clients? Oh, well, we're not actually doing any work for them until they've provided their AML, like their KYC. You know, it should be really smooth and streamlined like that. It's a government body, so it's probably not going to be, but maybe we can hope for the best, right?
That's what I've been preaching to governing bodies for a couple of years now, is that actually stop wasting your membership money on building your own software that's just absolutely useless, and talk to these software vendors who want to work with you and they want to help you make this easier for both the governing body supervision but also the members. And it was just never taken up on.
No, I mean, when we registered as a prescribed business with the GFSC, which was a long and boring process that I won't go into, but it was very rigorous. I sort of said, well, we use Zama, and they said, cool, don't care, what is it? I wrote them a short note about what it is, downloaded all of the risk assessment templates and everything like that, and said, look, you know, and I ended up doing like a little document with some screenshots of like, okay, if I'm doing a risk assessment on this platform, here's what I do, here's where it is. And then they replied and said, oh yeah, we do actually know Zama really, really well, and it's fine. If there was like an official list, that would have been even easier, right? Because I could have just said, I use Zama, and they'd have gone, great, tick.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I think this has got huge potential to make everyone's life a lot easier. Yeah. But I think it's going to be down to the governing bodies to also make everyone's life easier and go, right, well, actually, we're happy with the standards of the FCA's checks and frequencies and red flag system, whatever they've got. And we're going to focus more on, oh, I don't know, are you filing tax returns legitimately? Are you claiming illegitimate expenses? Like,
are you simply making things up?
Yeah, like, are you claiming R&D for a client that's never done R&D? Like, you've got all of this other stuff that's going on under governing bodies' eyes, and hopefully they can focus more on that rather than AML, and we see what happens. But yeah,
we'll wait and see.
My only negativity here is we don't know when this is happening. No. It's going to take some time, but actually we've already got a lot of change coming up over the next 4 or 5 years. So actually, do we need another big change like this? Probably not.
I mean, there's an argument that says that there are so many different changes all coming up, all staggered over the next 6 or 7 years, that actually what they should do is combine them all into one and just make it one big painful explosion of all the changes all in one go.
Rip off the and just get on with it.
Yeah, just change all the things, right? Like, why are we messing around with it? Like, let's have MTD, all of the MTD. Let's change the VAT threshold up or down, don't care, whatever you think of that. But everyone seems to have agreed that it needs to change, but everyone's got very strong opinions as to whether it should go up or down. You know, let's reform corporation tax. Let's get the ID stuff for Companies House for directors done. Let's just do it all in one go. And then we can just pootle along nicely, having a wicked time with all
anyone that's now sat in the corner breathing into a brown paper bag in cold sweats. I'd like to apologise for my new co-hosts. Gun-ho attitude. Thankfully, the government doesn't listen to any of us, so that's no risk of that happening. But yeah,
like you know, generally the UK government doesn't usually take advice from me, so I think it'll be okay. But yeah, it's just like, look at the amount of time and money and effort we're all going to spend over the next 7 years changing 1 or 2 things a year, and it's mind-boggling, right? There's so much of it.
Hello, sorry. Yeah, no, and my initial reaction to this, actually, when the news came out, was this is really detrimental to the reputation of governing bodies. Like, the governing bodies have either done such a poor job, the government has gone, no, you're not carrying on, or they've got so little weight and clout, yet they're meant to be campaigning for our industry and getting the government to consider our industry's point of views on matters like the budget and stuff, and the government's completely gone against them. Like, that could be quite detrimental, and it begs the question of, actually, if you feel that you're paying your membership so your voice is heard at those higher tiers, is your voice being heard? Have the governing body got the weight behind them to throw their weight around and make sure our voices are heard anymore? Like, probably not. But yeah, that was my first kind of reaction to the news the other day, which most of our listeners probably won't care about. But it's of interesting because that's what they are meant to be doing, is lobbying for us.
Yeah.
Marcus says, will be good to see the supervisory bodies provide more supportive role in AML than the odd one they have currently. Yeah. Like, are they now there to advise and to support? And are we more confident speaking to governing bodies openly about AML questions?
Yeah.
When we know they're not the police? Like,
if they're not going to fine you.
Yeah, but you don't walk into a police station and say, look, I've done this. I don't know if I've broken the law or not. Because you might have broken the law and you might get arrested. So
yeah,
you don't do it with governing bodies for AML. As much as they say, oh, you've got a confidential phone line. It's we don't use these contacts to check up on people. Don't you? Excuse the skeptic in me.
Are you sure?
Yeah, exactly. And Clive said the title of accountants is being legislated here in Ireland. Maybe they can lobby for the same in the UK. They've been trying for years, Clive, and got nowhere. So, yeah, it's again, it just shows their lack of weight behind their lobbying, really. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to another topic. We've already spoken about Sage Savvy launching, which was another fantastic podcast to the list of podcasts we have under the Ask the Accountant network. Well, Aaron and I recorded another new series. Well, one episode. We've done the pilot episode over the weekend for another new series, which is going to be called the Ask the Accountant AI Watch series. So we've taken on board the feedback that we spend too many hours on a Monday morning talking about AI, which some people love, other people don't. They don't care. So what we're going to do is we're going to have an AI watch series, a bit like the MTD watch series. The AI one, though, is going to be very ad hoc. We're going to create a new episode as and when there's news of relevance that we can fill an hour with. Something happened last week, which meant we could create our pilot episode. So that first episode of AI Watch will go live on all of our channels at 12:30 today. And it's focused on OpenAI's launch of Atlas browser. So this is OpenAI's ChatGPT web browser. And I have to say, so far, I'm very impressed. We won't go into too much detail here because we haven't got time. And Aaron and I spent an hour talking about it on Saturday, recording the episode, and we could have probably gone on for another couple of hours talking about it. But I think the reason people need to be aware of Atlas and other AI-based browsers is the ability this tool brings for you to do stuff that a lot of software companies are spending a lot of time and resources on trying to build themselves, whilst they could be better off spending time elsewhere whilst Atlas does this heavy lifting, okay? Yeah. So you could be in your practice management tool and it can read all the emails in a chain of emails and it could summarize those emails for you if you're just going into it as, there's been a conversation you weren't involved in. It could draft a response to that email. It could go through your client's communication timeline and summarize what's happened in the last 6 months so you don't have to read through every single log on the timeline. There's so many surface level things that it can do straight away. But as I say, we'll go into proper detail of that on this episode at 12:30 today. That will hit the channels. Tim, AI browsers, are you pro? Are you con? Have you had a look at this one?
I'm neither. I've had a brief look. I know that I'm very non-committal today, but I'm reserving judgment. But first glance, it seems amazing. I think that I think the podcast episode is going to be really interesting because there have been episodes of Ask the Accountant in the past where it's been 55 minutes of AI, and it is really interesting to most of us. But I know that there are some people like, oh my god, stop talking about ChatGPT. So this is ideal, right? Because those of us that want to be massive geeks about it and learn every single in and out, we can watch that podcast, and the ones that don't can get the brief update on here every Monday morning, and then they know that there's a watch series episode coming, right? So that's a fantastic move, I think, and it'll be super interesting. I think that for me, I'm using AI probably less and differently to a lot of people. I'm using it in some quite specific places to try and help me make stuff work a bit easier. I'm not necessarily deploying agents to do bank recs for me, or deploying agents to. We've already got AI built into CPM that we use for email, for example, which is exactly what you just said. But I'll is Atlas going to be better? Might be. Let's find out. Okay, but I'm using it a lot for things like, so there's a really good AI assistant in Airtable. And last week, me and Zoe were using it to build a thing that will take a load of employee information and tell you who's about to hit the next minimum wage category, right? And without any other information, we sort of told it, look, you're going to need to find people's date of birth, find out which jurisdiction they're in, because don't forget we deal with 3 jurisdictions and they all have different minimum wage rates and age bands, and then go off and find out which people are compliant. And it did that, and it did it perfectly, right? And it said, I got this information. These people are from the UK, so I got the information from HMRC. These people are from Guernsey, so I got the information from gov.gg. And these people are from Jersey, so I got that information from Revenue Jersey. And it was amazing. That's the kind of thing I'm using AI for a lot. And from what I've briefly seen with the Atlas browser, we're going to be able to do a lot of that kind of thing. Like, hey, look at this thing that I've got on the screen. I want it to tell me X. Help me make it tell me X. And that's really, really useful, because the ability for us to build internal tools and little scripts and things like that using AI that's going to save half an hour, save an hour. That for me is the main, that's the key use of AI. It's stuff that if I had a bit more intelligence along the sort of coding side of things, I might have built it myself. I can't do that. It's like asking me to build a house. Can't do it. So being able to get an AI agent to do it instead of potentially having to learn a lot of new skills, amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's we keep repeating this in the podcast episode we do. We were only 4 days into this technological release at the time of recording, and it's already doing some really incredible things. So yeah, definitely worth a watch if you're into your AI, and see how that goes. And I'll be doing a weekly live on Wednesday night for the Engager users. That'll go into the help center on showing you what you could use it for in Engager today. And as I say, this is just, well, I mean, it's 6 days old today. Like, this is going to go huge in the future. So it's definitely something to watch. So
Hence watch series, right? Because we're
the watch series, right?
Right.
Exactly. Anyone thought we put actual effort into naming that, right?
I know. It's shocking, right?
No, we didn't, but Lizzie did. Producer Lizzie always puts a lot of effort into these things.
She's very good at coming up with names.
Yeah. Cool. Moving on. For those that haven't seen on social media, Engager and TaxCalc are one step closer to the holy grail of a practice management and a compliance tool integrating. We've got a webinar coming up next Monday at 1 o'clock to show off the first look of this integration. And you know what? It's been really interesting to see some of the comments and messages we've had about this coming in since we've announced it. You know, it's coming mainly about how the hell have you guys done this so quick? There's other softwares out there that have been promising for 5 years and haven't done anything with it. But the one thing it has made me really realize is the speed at which your databases in different softwares can fall out of sync and become outdated if they're not all updating each other, like phenomenally quickly. So yeah, I mean, you use Silverfin, don't you, for your accounts and stuff, Tim? So I won't ask you what your thoughts are on this, and apart from, I mean, would you see value in your compliance tool and your practice management tool, which we know is Engager, talking to each other?
Yeah, I definitely would. I think that, you know, just because I don't use something doesn't mean that I don't see the value in it. And I think that it's really useful for anyone who's already using TaxCalc and Engager, right? And then secondarily, it's useful for anyone who is struggling with, because we already, you know, we recently, as a lot of you know, launched a UK practice, and it highlighted to me again some of the things we're missing out on in Guernsey when I just was able to pull in, you know, put in a company number into Engager and pull in the name, the address, the directors, everything like that, which currently we have to do manually. And imagine for a minute that you've not only got an integrated solution, but you're having to put everything in manually to both of them. Okay, you're going to get information out of sync in days, right? Not just months, you know, because let's say, you know, one of your directors moves address, right? You've got to update in like 5 separate places. You're actually going to remember to do that? Probably not. Most of us don't. If you're only having to update in one place, as long as you know which place is your master, that's your source of truth, right? And it can push it out to everywhere else for you. Amazing. And that, if you then apply that to absolutely everything, you know, are there, especially all the COSEC stuff as well, you know, is there a new director? Has somebody left? Is there a new shareholder? Has the shareholding changed? Has the accounting date changed? Has the confirmation statement been filed? All of those things, anything that you can have automatically update in multiple places from you entering it once, that's a time saver and that's a bonus, right? Because you're increasing your level of accuracy every single time. So I think it's fantastic. And even though I don't use TaxCalc, and with our current level of UK clients, it's probably not on the radar for me at the moment, but like, who knows in the future? It's I can definitely see the value in it.
Brilliant. Okay, well, we've got a final 13 minutes. So when we have a guest, I like to ask them what they want to talk about. And Tim's went straight away, I want to talk about the virtual summit that the ICB do, because not enough people know about it. Everyone knows about the in-person one. Not enough people know about the virtual one, which is obviously accessible to all ICB members across the world because it's online. So yeah, Tim, talk to us about the ICB Summit. When is it? What's going on? Yeah, fill us all in.
So I made notes so that I wouldn't forget anything, but I'm going to apologize in advance if I do forget anything. So the ICB Virtual Summit takes place on 2 of the days after the ICB Summit. And it's really important to note that the ICB Summit isn't just open to ICB members, right? The Luke Awards isn't just open to ICB members. There's some characters that crop up every year that are AAT members, right? And I think for me, one of the points about the virtual summit that's really useful is that you can join from anywhere, right? And you can dip in and out. There's a cost to it. It's not very expensive, but here's the thing. You're potentially picking up a lot of good information and a lot of good learning from that. And there's 2 separate sections to the virtual summit. And I won't go through it in super detail, because you can go to bookkeepersummit.com and find out all the information there. You can find out who's speaking, what the program is. You can register for the online summit. But there's a software demo day, okay, which is sort of 6 hours, and they'll have a lineup. They'll announce the actual lineup just before. If you're looking at different software solutions and you've got to schedule demos with 25 different vendors and you've got to find time for each of them and then consider each one, some of them always end up, you know, 5 minutes into the demo that this is not the solution for you, but you've scheduled half an hour with, you know, their version of Johann, and you feel bad saying, actually, this isn't going to work for my practice, so let's end it, right? Even though most vendors would probably appreciate if you gave them back 20 minutes into their day and were just honest and said, from what you said so far, I'm actually not interested. But the software demo day gives you it's like a quick fire, you know, like short focused little demos of all these bits of software so that you can decide in advance. It's kind of like doing a speed run of Accountex almost, right? It's like running around Accountex and going, what is it you guys do? Show me 30 seconds of your product. Right, cool, I want to talk to you more. Or, no, that won't work for me because it's irrelevant for this and this reason. Really, really good, really, really useful. I'm not sure who's going to be demoing this year, but I know that, you know, in the past there's been things like there's all the established, there's like Zero and Dex and things like that, and then you're likely to see Xenon. Who doesn't love Xenon? If you an opportunity to hear from Gareth is always welcome and see what they're up to. I know they've got some new stuff coming. I have to check Aaron's NDA book. I don't know what I'm allowed to talk about and what I'm not, so I'm not going to talk about anything. But I know that Xenon have got some tricks up their sleeve over the next couple of quarters, so it's definitely worth watching. And they're like Otto and things like that. Really, really interesting. And then that's on Wednesday, the 19th of November, because the actual summit is on the Monday. And obviously that's in person, it's in London. We all have to spend Tuesday traveling home, and it's absolutely not because the Luke Reward after party always ends in carnage. It's nothing to do with that. Bookkeepers are all very sensible people. Day 2, which is Thursday the 20th of November, this is a chance to experience some of the content that you get from the ICB summit without going, right? Because you can do this in your slippers. You can sit at home on the sofa and watch these. You can dip in and out. Some of them will be interesting, some of them might not, and you can just not bother with those ones. But honestly, if you've got the time even to do half of it, or especially if you've got time to do all of it, I highly, highly recommend it. And this is one of the reasons why, to go back to the AML conversation, this is one of the reasons why I think ICB's reaction was very interesting, which was that we're still here to support our members, because one of the things ICB are very good at is providing content that is potentially going to be useful to all of the members and for anyone thinking of becoming a member as well, right? So just as a really quick run through, because, you know, again, you can go to bookkeepersummit.com. Don't forget there's 2 Ks in Bookkeeper, and you can see the lineup there. But we've got Rachel Harris. These are all hopefully names that you guys already know, and if you're not, then they're all interesting people and you should listen to what they have to say. So we've got Rachel Harris, we've got Paul Aplin talking about tax headlines for bookkeepers and the small print you might have missed. That sounds very CPD, right? We've got the perfect app and tech stack for bookkeepers with Natasha and Lara, which Natasha has just mentioned in the comments as well. That'll be really interesting because they're both Lara and Natasha are both very ruthless about what tech is actually useful and what's a waste of time. So definitely worth checking that out. Trevor Bradfield from Unity IT talking about cybersecurity. That's something that we don't discuss enough. And that's something that especially a lot of small practices just sort of assume, I've got 2FA on everything, I'll be fine. You know, are you actually considering the cybersecurity risks out there enough? Probably not. Bev Flanagan talking about social media. We've got Penny from Wild Bookkeeping and Catherine Frimond. Really interesting stuff on like carbon accounting and ESL, and it's called Reporting for Impact. How can your practice calculate your carbon footprint? Top tip: if you're a Sage practice, you can get Sage carbon accounting for free now. Which is fantastic because it can otherwise be expensive. And then just to finish up, we've got Alex Marsh, we've got Ruth Kringle talking about helping books make sense for neurodiverse clients. Really interesting. We've got MTD Made Easy by Lee Coombs, Staying Sane as a Sole Practitioner. We've got Claire Kendall, Laura Murphy, and then this guy towards the end of the day talking about what I would have done differently if I started TCS now. So tune in for that one to hear about all the terrible mistakes I made and how right now I could literally be worth millions and I'm not.
I mean, I think we could all do a session like that. Yeah, I mean, what a great diverse platform of session. Like the beauty of the webinar ones, all right, the virtual ones, all right, you don't necessarily get the networking and the catch-up chats that you get elsewhere. day and spend the whole day listening to these sessions, great. But why not have something like this on instead of the radio or the TV? Like,
Yeah.
Because at least then you're hearing snippets that are more useful to you rather than trying to work out how many times has Katy Perry been on the radio channel this morning.
Yeah, exactly. And you can if you've registered for it, you can watch it back afterwards as well, right? So if you were sort of half listening and you got, oh, that guy actually just said something really interesting, you can go back and re-listen to it later.
Yeah, definitely. I think hopefully people will tune into that and register. And where have they got to go to register?
So it's bookkeepersummit.com.
There we
Couldn't
go.
be much easier.
Bookkeepersummit.com to register for the virtual 2-day sessions. Fantastic.
Everything's there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Tim, for filling up 6 minutes of our time there. That went
I know there's still
well.
4 minutes left, right?
That's brilliant, right? We're going to finish on time today. This is what happens when you haven't got amateurs like Aaron Patrick, who can't press go on the blooming light on the credits and stuff. And producer Lizzie's in the background, putting links into our chats. Ask the Accountant, aka Lizzie and Aaron, will be at the Bookkeepers Conference. I won't. I've got other commitments that week, which means I'm not even in the country, or about to not be in the country. So
is this the one where you're going to like Sri Lanka for 5 hours or something like that?
Yeah, long weekend in Sri Lanka, there and back again for a long weekend. Absolutely ridiculous. But last year we did Ask the Bookkeeper at the Bookkeepers Conference in person. If you're at the in-person event, Ask the Accountant are back doing Ask the Bookkeeper. So we'll be interviewing more bookkeepers at that space. And we still have a few slots left. So if you haven't been interviewed by us before and you want to feel how it's like to go on camera in a friendly, supportive environment, get asked some really nice, simple questions. We're not trying to catch you out or anything. This is not the BBC Saturday morning, Sunday morning interview with the Prime Minister. This is just Aaron Patrick having a chat with you. And then all of a sudden you've got a nice little podcast and video episode starring you. So if you've not done one of those with us yet, please do register for one. We've only got so many slots, so make sure you get in there quick and early. And then we will go from there. Stephanie says, I haven't done a pit stop. Does that count? Stephanie, you've done everything else. I'd leave the space for someone else who hasn't done anything at all. But yeah, the reason we created the Ask the Accountant podcast pit stops at all the conferences and the Ask the Bookkeeper pit stops at the ICB was because we wanted to give everyone an opportunity to do their first podcast interview and realize it's not big and scary, and do their first video and realize it's not big and scary, and actually it's really cool and really fun. So we really enjoy doing these episodes, so please do get involved.
We're going to be unlocking a brand new TCS character for everybody to meet, who's booked in for a podcast pit stop. And like Johann said, it's give it a go, right? This is the ultimate way of trying it out. And then, if you hate it, then you never have to do it again. But so far, I've not met anyone who's done it and hated it. So, give it a go. Take yourself out of your comfort zone. It's 10 minutes of your day. And it's really interesting and well worth doing.
Yeah. And even if you've done one, but you've got a team member that you'd love to try and convince that they could be quite good at this, put them on. It's basically part of Tim's induction training for all of his team. At the next conference you go to, you are going to do a podcast pit stop because I want to see how comfortable you are on camera and with a microphone. And when you're a social media facing firm like Tim's is, then you need to make sure your staff have got that introduction to it. So
exactly.
Yeah, fantastic. Right, well, with 1 minute to go, that brings us to the end of today's show. Professionals, this. I'll tell Aaron he's sacked, that he's been replaced. But thank you very much to everyone that's tuned in today, and for all the comments, etc., in the comment section. It's been a very interesting show, quite a diverse amount of topics. Thank you, Tim, for giving up your Monday morning to be with us. And
thanks for having me on.
Covering Aaron's skiving.
Anytime.
Yeah, well, we'll have you back anytime. We love having you on. We love working with you guys over at TCS as well. And if you've not watched any of the TCS content that we created when Aaron and Lizzie went out to visit Guernsey, please go and check it out on all of our social media channels. Some absolutely fantastic videos showing you what a social media, forward-thinking, not family, but family central kind of firm looks like. Like, you are basically a big family together.
Just to make it really easy as well, if you want to find it all in one place, you can go to tcs.gg and click on media, and everything's there.
Professional. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much to everybody for joining us this week. We look forward to seeing you all next week, and we'll see you all at 8:30 next Monday. Thank you very much, and goodbye from us.
Bye.